Now shifting focus to elections in France, where France is going to the polls this weekend in the first round of her parliamentary elections. Marine Le Pen's national rally tops opinion polls with between 33 and 36%, followed by a left-wing alliance and Macron's centrists. Polls indicate that the French are taking the vote seriously, with the highest turnout for a quarter of a century. Quickly, let's go live across to Paris, from where my colleague William Denslow joins us to help us understand the direction of the much talked about French polls or France snap elections are concerned. Give us a sense. It's already out there in public domain, the dwindling popularity of the current ruling dispensation. But what's the buzz like there?
Well, there's certainly an element of scrambling for all the political parties, for the public to get their heads around this election. It was one that many were not expecting just a month ago. Let's not forget that it was only 3 weeks ago the last time that people across France went to the polls to vote in the European elections, and it was the result of that poll that triggered French President Emmanuel Macron to call for this election. His Renaissance party suffered terribly in that election. It got around half the European seats in the European Parliament in Brussels that the National Rally did, and that is why Emmanuel Macron said he wanted the French people to have a say on whether the policies that the National Rally had presented that the population wanted at the European level translates to domestic demand as well. So now the public here in France will have that say. The National Rally campaign on a strong anti-immigration platform, and they're up against French President Emmanuel Macron's centrist bloc, as well as a coalition of less-leaning groups, the New Popular Front. When it comes to voting on Sunday, the real question is whether any of those three groups can hit the magic number of 289 seats in the National Assembly. If they do, that will be an absolute majority. If none of those groups hit that figure, that will trigger a runoff election on July 7th.
Okay, what about Marine Le Pen's national rally party? It seems to be pretty much doing well in terms of garnering more popularity and traction. Macron didn't see this drubbing coming along, and is that the advantage for Marine Le Pen's national rally?
Well, this is a huge gamble from the French president, essentially trying to take political parties off guard by calling this snap election. And by analysts, they're saying this is a huge test, not only for his party and his ability to rule as president for the next couple of years, whether we'll see somewhat of a lame duck session if there's an opposing prime minister in contrast to his policies for the next couple of years, but whether this will have a major impact on the French president's legacy going forward. So that'll be a huge question and a huge gamble in the minds of many analysts, many political observers here in France. The real question is whether there's the appetite for the National Rally's policies on a domestic level. There are plenty of the National Rally's opponents trying to target the National Rally's views on Russia in the past, trying to paint the National Rally as being pro-Kremlin, pro-Russia. That is something that Jordan Bardella, the leader of the National Rally, is trying to distance himself from in recent days, saying that essentially Moscow they view as a multi-dimensional threat. So that is a major threat that we're seeing play out in the days ahead of this election contest.
William, lastly, there's also this conversation about the highest turnout that the France has seen in these elections for a quarter of a century, quote unquote. How unprecedented is that? And according to you, what could be the reasons attributed to that? Where did Macron actually go wrong?
Well, it'll be very much remains to be seen whether Emmanuel Macron or whether this was a masterstroke from the centrist, from the leader of the Renaissance group. This was a decision that took many people by surprise. People thought that, considering the fact that an election wasn't required, people are speculating as to whether this was the right move. So very interesting to see whether that'll play off. It could be perceived in a few weeks' time as a masterstroke for Emmanuel Macron. But if the polls are to be believed, we could well expect a repeat of what we saw in the European elections and to see a very strong performance from the National Rally. Whether it'll be enough for them to secure an absolute majority in the National Assembly, that remains to be seen.
Nevertheless, a very tight and precarious walk for Macron as of now. But Williams, Danslow, thank you very much for joining us live from Paris. Thank you.